I remember thinking it was crazy when I realized that an entire month had gone by since the attack on the World Trade Centers. And it's now been 20 years, 2 decades. That means that 99% of 20-year-olds um, today were born after 9/11, and a small percentage would have been born on that date. But even 25-year-olds, uh, they might remember being 5 and seeing it on TV, but they didn't really understand the significance of it. And I was 15, and that means that I was of the age where I had started to grasp uh, the uh, the bigger picture of the world around me, and that picture of the world was one in which America was safe and secure. The Gulf War had been decades ago. No, not decades, because I remember it when I was a kid. And the world was safe and secure, and our time of sending soldiers into battle to die was no longer relevant. And so to realize that we were actually attacked on our own home soil, that's something that was never supposed to happen. So that was a shock. So I'm glad that I got to sort of understand the way the world worked before 9/11, because I it helps me understand more of the context of a broader picture of the world. And so anyway, the other day, I had just realized, holy crap, it's been 20 years, and there were some flyers at the Dollar General for community yard sale. This woman said, "Well, that seems highly inappropriate," and she wasn't like being haughty. She was like, "Doesn't it was more like that's how I'm voicing her. It was more like, well, that doesn't seem appropriate, does it now?" Not like she was being serious, but you know what? I went to that community yard sale and I bought a lamp for $2. And I got a bunch of free shit from my neighbors who just said, you can have all of this, like tables and stuff like that. And I had a pretty goddamn good day. I also longboarded too, in public, around people, and it's kind of a fun challenge. Better than just going back and forth on the street like I usually do. Anyway, if you postpone or cancel your community yard sale because it happens to be on 9/11, the terrorists have won. And that's why it's your patriotic duty to go on living as you normally do. Now, I was active in remembering before I went to the yard sale. I did what I do every single morning when I get up. I stand up at attention. I face the flag and I salute it and I recite the pledge. And then I go through and I just do a good, cursory glance of the Constitution. So I just remember all the applicable laws, you know. And then I pray to baby Jesus for a miraculous return of Trump. And I had a dream where baby Jesus climbed out of his manger, and I was in bed and he climbed onto my forehead, and he climbed over it and he whispered in my ear and he said, your prayers will be answered. And then he crawled back to the manger scene that had been left out since last Christmas, and I I picked him up and I put him in the box and I shoved him back in the attic because that's where he goes. It's not, you don't have a manger scene out for Christmas. Anyway, non sequitur, kind of a weird tangent. But point is, I take 9/11 very seriously. I don't let the terrorists win, but I also don't let them take away my patriotism. Anyway, so I didn't think it was a big deal that we were having community yard sale, but on the eve of 9/11, I heard pow pow, like fireworks going off, and I thought that those sound like fireworks. Then I thought, a lot of times people mistake gunshots for fireworks. Could it be gunfire? But I realized no, I was pretty sure they were fireworks, and they were, and they were over the trees, the neighbors, and I'm thinking now that's inappropriate. Who would actually celebrate 9/11 Eve? And I thought Al Qaeda, and it makes sense because there's a whole big old um, community over there. Um, it's just down the street, and sometimes the kids just ride through the streets on bikes, yelling Allahu Akbar, and recite, calling out the call to prayer. And I was like, these guys seem pretty cool. Maybe they got a bad rap. So I checked them out. And I said, guys, I'm not like, I'm against terrorism, okay? But can I join anyway? Like, is it okay if I'm not like, uh, I don't like do all the stuff? And they said, oh, Habibi, it's okay if you do not support terrorism. We welcome all people, including you. Now we support terrorism, but you don't have to. You just have to believe that we need an Islamic caliphate and not like to, get in the way when we're doing, our things. And I said, whoa, hold on a second. You would accept me? Like you just said you would now I know it makes sense that you would. I'm shocked enough that you would just accept anybody. I'm guessing over time you wear them down and indoctrinate them. You would accept anybody, but does that include me? And they said, oh Habibi, yes, come, we're having a meeting right now. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't join. And they said, why not? And I said, because I'm a man of principle. And one of my principles is I never would join any club that would have me as its member. Groucho Marx. Good one. Also, he said, outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside a dog, it's too dark to read. So anyway, tangent. I'm just free associating here. Groucho Marx makes me think of Charlie Chaplin. Let's see if I can guide these tangents back. We'll just do an experiment here. Groucho Marx, contemporary and similar. I haven't watched a lot of Groucho Marx, but first thing I think of when I hear Groucho Marx, Charlie Chaplin. First thing that I think of Charlie Chaplin is Hitler mustache. There was a guy that worked at the local Walmart I used to work at. He had Hitler mustache. Hitler ruined the Hitler mustache. And that's fine because I don't like mustaches anyway. But it's a shame in a way, I guess. No, but what's a real shame is that he ruined the swastika. Hear me out. It's a very ancient design, and it has been used by many cultures. And Hitler and the Nazis decided to use it. And naturally, when I see a swastika, I think primarily, wow, this is a hateful person. They're flying a swastika in their front yard. But objectively speaking, if Hitler hadn't used it, it would be a cool symbol. It goes back to something very sort of the really fundamental roots of geometry. possibly even sacred geometry, especially since multiple cultures came up with it on their own. Aryans, some Native Americans, Buddhists. I don't know the whole history of it. Anyway, I do have a little gold Buddha statue, and there are swastikas around it. Very small. You wouldn't notice it. So anyway, so let's bring this around. Hitler is a symbol of evil that you're never supposed to imitate, even jokingly. He's considered the most evil man in the world. Well, who's the the evil man for us now? Well, it's Bin Laden, right? And since I got off on a humor tangent, I'll save a more complex and nuanced analysis of 9/11, at the Afghan and Iraq wars, the connections that I have to those wars, particularly in Afghanistan, with some of the work that I did, and talk about how Al Qaeda operates. Maybe talk about some 9/11 debunking. I don't want to get really into 9/11 because there are a lot of other topics that I want to explore. But we'll see. We'll just keep making videos and see if I keep up. I really want to get back to the UFO UAP subject since I took such a long hiatus. Wow, my voice is getting harsh. But yeah, I definitely foreign policy and the not foreign policies per se, but foreign policy in a larger historical and cultural context. Let's say that. How 9/11 was used as an excuse to go to Afghanistan and Iraq. I support the Afghan war, not Iraq, but why that happened and why we did so horribly in both countries. And we were used to the Gulf War was completely different, the first Gulf War. And we were used to other cultures and conventions of warfare, such as World War II. And we had experienced we had experienced Vietnam, where the Viet Cong had tactics that we couldn't really face properly, unlike World War II and World War I with the trenches. And Iraq and Afghanistan are the same way. We didn't know what we were getting into because we were ignorant. I say we, I mean those in power, didn't really understand Islamic culture, the culture of Afghanistan and Iraq, how Al Qaeda operates. Yeah, we didn't know that. So we'll get into that later. So I'll just wrap it up there. Yeah. Going back, it's been a while since I did watch a brief clip, but I remember the last time I actually went and watched some of that footage again, and I'm just shocked, because it had been so long. It had become an abstract thing in my mind, but to see, wow, that really happened was pretty crazy. Definitely more of a shock than Pearl Harbor. We didn't expect to be bombed, but when it happened, it was like, it's not unthinkable. I mean, we have a military base in Hawaii because Hawaii is a good strategic location and it's military, so they attacked our military. Makes sense. All right, that's all I gotta say for now.